Patrick Swayze wasn't just another name in Hollywood. He was the one who won over millions of hearts with his dancing, the man who brought realism to romantic tales, and who maintained a smile despite life's tough moments. However, beneath the strength and charm was a person quietly engaged in combat that the public was unable to witness. His parting remarks, which were delivered in the quietest whisper, were more significant than all of the cheers he ever got, since they showed who Patrick really was when the limelight faded. The diagnosis. Early in 2008, Patrick witnesses a world that has permanently changed. He was still at the top of his game at the age of 55, respected, admired, and seemingly unstoppable. He had recently finished filming the first episode of The Beast, a gritty television drama in which he played an FBI agent who was prepared to break the law in the name of justice. Everyone was reminded of his unadulterated intensity in this role, which embodied the toughness and soul that had characterized his career. However, something within him had started to turn against him behind that recognizable smile and composed demeanor. His stomach began to ache dully, the kind of discomfort that most people would dismiss as indigestion or fatigue, but the pain persisted. During filming, it got worse, occasionally causing him to double over in between takes. After friends persuaded him to visit a physician, he received a heartbreaking diagnosis. One of the most deadly illnesses that medicine currently recognizes is pancreatic cancer. In addition to the news, the doctors told him something that few people can ever fully prepare for. He had little chance of surviving because the cancer had already spread. At most, 6 months to 2 years. It seemed unbelievable for a man who was known for his physical prowess, self-control, and vigor. Patrick, however, didn't respond as most people might have. He didn't cry or get angry, according to his wife Lisa Nemi, who was with him at the time of the appointment. He simply nodded while sitting quietly and processing it. It wasn't denial. It was strength wrapped in acceptance that he started talking about his options for treatment that same day and decided to begin chemotherapy right away. Additionally, he agreed to participate in an experimental medication trial for Vadalinib, a substance intended to stop the blood vessels supplying his tumor. However, privacy is uncommon in Hollywood, and the news was leaked to the media within days. By January 2008, his death was being predicted in tabloid headlines. Magazines are filled with pictures of people who appear thinner and more worn out. However, he maintained his composure throughout each interview. With firmness, he stated, "I'm not finished. I have a lot more living to do." Patrick chose to remain in the spotlight, whereas many others might have done the opposite. Determined to finish The Beast, he kept working. He didn't let the pain stop him, even as it got worse. In 2009, he declared to Barbara Walters, "I am a miracle. I'm not giving up without a fight." And the world witnessed his true nature at that very moment. A fighter with an unbreakable spirit, not just a star. Taking on the impossible. The cast and crew were astounded by what they saw when Patrick returned to the set of The Beast in late 2008. He was paler, thinner, and obviously in pain. His energy, however, was unwavering. He refused to be given preferential treatment and consistently showed up on set before anyone else. He frequently endured 12-hour filming days interspersed with discreet chemotherapy. In order to prevent his performance from being hindered, he even refused to take strong painkillers while at work. Patrick was never late. Director Michael Dinner subsequently recalled. Never voiced any complaints. You wouldn't suspect it if you didn't know he was ill. His wife, Lisa Nemi, served as his anchor behind the camera. She waited while he filmed, helped him manage his medication, and drove him to the studio every morning. "Because when I work, I feel alive," Patrick responded when asked why he continued to work. Acting was more than just a job to him. It served as a motivation to awaken and a diversion from death. However, his sense of dignity was not shared by the media. Months before it actually happened, tabloids made derogatory headlines about his appearance, conjectured about his last days, and even pronounced him dead. Patrick directly addressed those rumors. He half-jokingly remarked, "They're writing my obituary before I'm gone." But he was clearly frustrated. He desired seclusion rather than sympathy. The Beast debuted in January 2009 to critical acclaim in spite of everything. Unaware that each scene had been shot in between chemotherapy treatments, viewers were astounded by his intensity. When audiences realized what he had gone through to make it come to life, his performance was unvarnished, strong, and devastating. Although the show was eventually canceled after just one season, it came to represent Patrick's bravery, his last professional victory prior to his body failing him. His weight had drastically decreased by then. Every breath became difficult for him, and he could hardly keep food down, but he continued to move forward. In an interview, he stated, "I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of leaving the one I love behind." Loved during the worst of times. Lisa Niami had been Patrick Swayze's silent companion for over 30 years, long before he became famous or ill. Patrick was the young teacher who saw her potential when she was just 14 years old and a bashful student at his mother's dance school in Houston. A few years later, they fell in love, got married in 1975, and created a life that was impervious to the corrupting effects of fame. Lisa stayed the same through every movie, every scandal, and every triumph. That devotion turned into a sacred thing when cancer entered their lives in 2008. That Lisa was more than her spouse. She served as his voice when he lost the strength to speak, his nurse, and his guardian. The same mild routine started each morning, which included taking his temperature, getting his medicine ready, and assisting him in moving when the pain got too bad. Worth fighting for. That they lived each day as if it were the last, she wrote in her memoir. However, we didn't say it aloud. Their Los Angeles home turned into a haven of perseverance and quiet. Together, they enjoyed music, read, and watched the sun set over their ranch. Patrick frequently told her that the ranch, with its wide-open spaces and horses, was the only location where he felt like a man and not a celebrity. That he once remarked, "I'm not a star when I'm here. I am who I am." During his last months, friends came to visit and were amazed at how serene the house felt. Lisa slept next to him when he was too weak to move, and she hardly ever left his side. She would play their favorite classical records or read books aloud to him in the evenings while speaking softly. Despite Patrick's obvious decline, their relationship remained strong. After a miscarriage years prior, they decided to view their marriage as their legacy instead of pursuing their previous dream of having children. "We don't need kids to be a family," Patrick once remarked to each other. "We are everything." In his last year, that reality hit him hard. Their love only grew stronger as his body gave up, becoming something that was unbreakable and that not even death could take away. The last conflict. Patrick Swayze's health had reached its most precarious point by the spring of 2009. The once optimistic treatments were no longer effective. Doctors informed him that the cancer had progressed to his liver. They were at a loss for options. That kind of news would be intolerable to most people. However, Patrick managed it with the same calm fortitude that had characterized him throughout his life. He made the decision to spend what time he had left at home, in a quiet environment, away from the bustle of Hollywood. Lisa, his wife, kept meticulous records of those days. She would record his temperature, food intake, and even his moods each morning. It was her method of persevering and transforming suffering into meaning. She subsequently wrote, "He never complained. Even when the pain was obvious, he tried to comfort me instead." Patrick mostly read, listened to music, or sat quietly by the window that looked out over their ranch. According to friends who paid him a visit, he exuded peace and a sense of acceptance that only a man who had come to terms with his life could possess. Nevertheless, there were challenging times. He was admitted to the hospital in January 2009 due to pneumonia, a serious side effect of chemotherapy. Many believed it was over, but Patrick shocked everyone by getting better and going home a week later. He desired to fight all the way to the end. That he wasn't prepared to let go of life, according to Lisa. Not just yet. Lisa was the one who fed him, gave him his medication, and held his hand when he shook when the pain got too much. Even when she became tired, she wouldn't leave his side. Every day, the noise from the horses outside and the laughter inside their house decreased. However, it was never a place of hopelessness. It was a place of love, where two people clung to one another in the face of impending doom. Patrick's health deteriorated by the beginning of September. He spoke in whispers since he was unable to stand by himself any longer. Even so, he grinned as he glanced at Lisa. It was the type of grin that expressed more than words could. The final words. It was a calm afternoon on September 14, 2009. The sort of silence that makes it seem as though the world is holding its breath. In his bed at home in Los Angeles, where he had shared many quiet days with Lisa, Patrick Swayze lay. Time seemed to slow down in the soft silence created by the sunlight filtering through the curtains. His eyes were half closed and his breathing had become shallow, but he was calm and not afraid as she had done each and every day during his illness. Lisa sat next to him and held his hand. She claimed that Patrick had grown too frail to talk much in her memoir, Worth Fighting For. She did, however, lean in close and whisper, "I love you." His lips moved for a moment, and he returned the whisper, "I love you." Patrick Swayze never said anything more after that. It was straightforward and unadorned, yet it was everything. 3 words that capture a lifetime of hardship, victory, notoriety, and suffering. Lisa claimed to have known he was at peace at that precise moment. Patrick took his last breath a few minutes later. His age was 57. Just 2 people who had been in love for almost 35 years were present. No reporters, flashing cameras, or farewell show. Long after his heart stopped beating, Lisa remained by his side, resting her head on his shoulder and repeatedly whispering the words. Later, she wrote, "I love you." I continued to talk to him even after he left because I couldn't accept that he wasn't still paying attention. Hours later, Patrick's publicist confirmed his death in a succinct statement. Only family and close friends attended the private memorial. There was neither a public funeral nor a grand farewell. However, the world was rocked by grief when word spread of his death. At the locations where he filmed his Dirty Dancing, fans gathered, lit candles, and left notes that said, "Nobody puts Patrick in the corner." The loss of an actor wasn't the only thing. It was the loss of a man who passed away gracefully. The legacy endures. The name of Patrick Swayze remained constant in the years after his death. It only got more powerful. He was more than just a movie star to millions of admirers. He was a representation of self-control, modesty, and the bravery to die with honor. Generations after generation were still moved by his roles in Roadhouse, Point Break, Ghost, and Dirty Dancing. Every movie acts as a reminder of the man who poured his heart into each part. Lisa Nee's 2012 memoir, Worth Fighting For, which chronicled their love story and the traumatic journey of his last months, was released shortly after his passing. The book wasn't about tragedy. It served as evidence of strength. According to her, Patrick was a man who approached death with the same bravery, humor, and love that he did life. Millions of people who had been grieving in silence found closure in her words that a memorial stone was placed at the Mountain Lake Hotel in Virginia, the location of Dirty Dancing's filming decades prior, in November 2009. It soon became a place of pilgrimage. Every year, admirers from all over the world started coming to pay their respects, leaving him letters, flowers, and even dancing shoes. The 2024 release of the documentary I Am Patrick Swayze included moving interviews with his brother, Don Swayze, and co-stars Jennifer Grey and Demi Moore. "Patrick didn't play good men," Jennifer said. "He was one." Lisa carried on with her mission despite her loss. She started advocating for the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network in public, using her platform to increase awareness and research funding. She dedicated the Spirit of Hope Award, which she received in 2023, to Patrick's memory. She stated in her speech that "I was powerless to stop him from going. However, I can ensure that he never goes missing." Patrick's influence is still felt today outside of the movie theater. "She's Like the Wind," one of his songs, is still playing on radios and streaming services. His movies never go out of style, and his tale never fails to motivate anyone facing an insurmountable obstacle. He demonstrated to the world that love triumphs over fear, and that one can teach others how to live life to the fullest even when one is dying. The story of Patrick Swayze is not solely about loss. It's about having the fortitude to love deeply, live life to the fullest, and gracefully face the unthinkable. His parting remarks lacked drama and preparation. They were authentic, said by a man who had already given everything he owned to the world. He served as a reminder of what really matters, even in death: the moments we spend together and the people we love. We now look forward to hearing from you. What is your most treasured Patrick's Day moment? The one that brings you joy or tears even now? Tell us in the comments section below. And since some names never go away, if this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you don't miss any more tales that honor remarkable lives and enduring legacies. Patrick observes that this is one of